9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
Nominal power and telemetry.
Pounds of thrust. Headed to space. We've throttled down in preparation for max Q, moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket.
FalconHeavy is supersonic.
There we just heard the call out that the vehicle is now traveling faster than the speed of sound. What a beautiful sight.
Max Q.
All right, there we just heard the call out. That is the moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket. M1D engines throttling back up. A beautiful sight to see FalconHeavy flying once again. Shortly we'll hear the call out for MVAC chill, indicating that the second stage is prepping the MVAC engine.
Vehicle is following a nominal trajectory.
We will flow a little bit of the super chilled liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps on that MVAC in preparation for the full flow of the super chilled propellant. Shots there of each side booster on the right-hand side of your screen. Next event will be booster engine cutoff, or BECO. That'll be followed by stage separation of side boosters, side booster boost back burn, center core main engine cutoff. We are about 10 seconds away from the booster separation.
Side core shutdown.
Booster separation confirmed.
Engine chamber start.
And there you can see and heard it by the incredible excitement within the crowd behind me. Successful separation of the side boosters.
Boost sector startup.
There we can see 3 engines on each side booster have relit for their boost back burn. At this point in time, both side boosters are
All
returning.
vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
Good news there, both side boosters and the center core, everything looking good. Side boosters are returning to the coast of Florida, now under the power of 3 engines. That's a view there of the center core. Coming up, 3 events happening in rapid succession. We'll have the conclusion of the side booster boost back burn, followed by main engine cutoff, as well as stage separation of that center core. As a reminder, per request of our customer, we won't be showing second stage views after second engine start 1. Additionally, our center core, or stage 1, the one you see there, is expendable today, so we are not recovering this booster.
Boost back burn shutdown.
Nico.
Stage separation confirmed.
There you heard the call out and saw on your screen we had side boost back burn conclusion, as well as the main engine cutoff and separation for that center core, and we heard call out of second engine start 1. At this point in time, with that call out,
Fairing separation confirmed.
looks like the ice on those cameras are now clearing.
GY and NY FTS have safed. All vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
So that re-entry burn has concluded. We're expecting the landing burn to begin in about 30 seconds. The entry burn intended to slow the vehicles down significantly as they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Amazing tracking cam views of the boosters as they return to landing zone 1 and 2. We can see the grid fins there.
Both side boosters transonic.
Stage 2 FTS is safe. Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
We can see those grid fins steering the boosters for a precise landing. Again, we're attempting
Booster
landing.
burn.
Landing zone 1 and 2. There we just heard sonic booms. And there you have it. As indicated by the enormous cheers, we have successfully landed both FalconHeavy side boosters at landing zone 1 and landing zone 2. What an incredible sight.
Nominal parking orbit.
With these two side boosters, this marks the 150th and 151st overall successful landing of an orbital class rocket. This is the 21st landing at landing zone 1 and the 4th landing at landing zone 2. And with successful confirmation of our side boosters landing, that will bring today's webcast to a close.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff of Eutelsat Hotbird 13G. Go Falcon 9.
Nominal first stage chamber pressures.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space
Power
Force
telemetry
Station,
nominal.
carrying Eutelsat Hotbird 13G satellite. Now, during ascent, the M1D engines will actually swivel and help steer Falcon 9, and this is known as gimbal. The rocket autonomously tilts the engines.
Supersonic.
The rocket autonomously tilts the engines just a few degrees, and this gimbaling allows the vehicle to perform a gravity turn, which is when we are going vertical but also going horizontal, and you can kind of see that on your screen there.
Max Q.
Great call out. We've just passed through Max Q. That is the largest structural load that the vehicle sees on ascent. After we pass through Max Q, we can now begin to throttle up the 9 M1D engines on stage 1. And in just about a minute, we'll have 3 events happening back to back. The first will be MECO, stage separation, and then SES-1, which is second stage engine start 1. Got some really cool views.
And back is chilling in.
Really cool views of those 9 M1D engines on the first stage. Now, MECO is main engine cutoff, and that's where all 9 of those engines will shut down, and that prepares the vehicle for stage separation. Then stage 1 can make its way back down to Earth, while stage 2 continues with SES-1, or second stage engine start 1. That's where we will ignite that MVAC engine on the second stage for the first time for this mission. Again, coming up here in just a few seconds, we will have MECO, stage separation, and SES-1.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
And there we could see MECO stage separation on your right-hand screen. That MVAC engine is lighting up there. Coming up next, we will have fairing separation. The fairing halves flying today are flight proven, one half flying for the 4th time and the other for a 6th time. And on your left-hand screen is a view of the first stage. The grid fins have now deployed.
Bearing separation confirmed. Stage 1 landing burn.
There we've had SECO and stage 1 landing burn has begun. Let's watch as Falcon 9 touches down on just read the instructions.
Landing leg deploy.
Nominal orbit
Stage 1 landing
insertion.
confirmed.
And great news there and a couple of great call outs. Falcon 9 has touched down on just read the instructions. This landing marks SpaceX's 152nd recovery of an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. And we also heard SECO 1 and confirmation of good orbit.
Payload separation confirmed.
An incredible view there with the Earth in the background. The Eutelsat Hotbird 13G satellite drifting away from Falcon 9's second stage. Great view. So with confirmation of successful...
Acquisition of signal, Diego Garcia.
With confirmation of successful payload deploy, we're going to end our launch broadcast.
Acquisition of signal, Maldives.
We're going to end our launch broadcast for tonight.
And liftoff of Intelsat Galaxy 31 and 32. Go Falcon 9.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
Successful liftoff of Falcon 9 from Space Launch Complex 40 at the
Nominal
Cape
power
Canaveral
telemetry.
Space Force Station in Florida. We're carrying the Intelsat Galaxy 31 and 32 payloads to orbit. Now, we've just begun throttling down the Merlin 1D
supersonic.
engines in preparation for maximum dynamic pressure. And we've also begun to tilt the engines. That's called gimbaling, and that's why we've begun to move horizontally away from the launch pad. That maneuver is called a gravity turn.
Max Q.
So call out there for max Q, that's the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure. Now briefly going back to the gravity turn, we are still heading up. As you can see, the speed and altitude are increasing, but we're also heading away from the launch pad. And we do that because a rocket needs to go about 17,500 miles an hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back to planet Earth. So we'll keep speeding up the vehicle to get to orbit. Now coming up in about a minute, we've got three events back to back. That is main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, and then second engine start number 1. Main engine cutoff is where we'll shut down all 9 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. That's in preparation for stage separation, where the first stage will push off the second stage, and then second engine start number 1, where we'll ignite the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. So again, MECO, main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, and then SES-1. And gotta love those beautiful views. This is a view from the first stage camera looking down the body of the first stage towards planet Earth. You can see the Merlin 1D's plume expanding as the density gets less and less.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
And vac ignition.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Awesome. So MECO, stage sep, and second engine start complete. Now, coming up next in about 20 or so seconds will be fairing separation. Again, both of these fairing halves having flown 5 times before today's mission. And some great views of planet Earth behind the Merlin vacuum engine.
Fairing separation confirmed.
So there is successful fairing separation. We'll be attempting to recover those fairing halves again once they make their way back to Earth on a recovery vessel named Bob.
Acquisition of signal.
You can actually see one of the fairing halves in frame there as it goes back to planet Earth. We actually got our first glimpse of the payload as well today. As a reminder, we are not attempting landing on our first stage. So the next major milestone will be second engine cutoff number 1. That's about 4 minutes from now.
Confirmed separation on first payload.
And there is successful separation of the Galaxy 32 satellite. So it's going to make its way on to this geostationary transfer orbit and then continue with some burns to get into its operational orbit later on in the mission. And we are going to jump back to another short coast phase before the second and final deployment of today's mission of the Galaxy 31 payload. That's scheduled to happen in about 5 minutes. So we'll see you back here at T+38.
Payload 2 separation confirmed.
And there is successful separation of the Galaxy 31 satellite off to continue its mission. So all of us here at SpaceX want to give a big thank you to our customer Intelsat for entrusting us with today's mission. We also want to thank the Range and the Federal Aviation Administration for their support. And before we sign off, SpaceX observed Veterans Day this past Friday, and we wanted to take this time to thank all of our veterans for their service.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go Intelsat 10B, go 1049.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying the Eutelsat 10B satellite.
Power and telemetry.
Now, during ascent, the M1D engines will actually swivel and help steer Falcon 9. This is known as gimbal. The rocket autonomously tilts the engines just a few degrees, and this gimbaling allows the vehicle to perform a gravity turn, which is when we go vertical as well as horizontal. Now we're still going up, but we are also heading horizontally away from the launch pad. And we have just heard that we've passed through max Q. That is the largest structural load that the vehicle sees on ascent. Now we will throttle those M1D engines back up on the first stage. This is a really cool tracking view of our Falcon 9 vehicle. Coming up next, in about a minute, we will have a few events happening back to back. That will be MECO, stage
engine chill has started.
MECO, stage separation, and SCS-1. We just heard that call out that the MVAC engine is chilling. Now, MECO is main engine cutoff. That is where all 9 of the M1D engines shut down on the first stage. That's what you're seeing lit up on your screen there. They will shut down in preparation for stage separation. That's where the first and second stages will separate. Stage 1 will not be landing on today's mission, and stage 2 will continue on its journey to take the Eutelsat 10B satellite to its targeted drop-off orbit. Now those events are coming up here in about 20 seconds.
Main engine cut off.
Stage separation confirmed. Payload deploy confirmed.
An incredible view. You are watching the Eutelsat 10B satellite drifting away from Falcon 9's second stage.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine full power and liftoff of CRS-26. Go Falcon and happy Thanksgiving ISS.
That's right, liftoff of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket for the 26th cargo resupply mission, bringing new science experiments and solar arrays to the International Space Station.
See Falcon 9 carrying CRS-26 on its way to the International Space Station. We are throttling down the engines on the first stage, and this helps us prepare for max Q, which is maximum dynamic pressure. It's the largest structural load that the vehicle sees on ascent, and we should be passing through that period. In a few seconds here. That call out that we passed through max Q. Great views there of Falcon 9 carrying NASA's CRS-26 mission. We are coming up on a few events happening back to back. That's going to be MECO, or main engine cutoff, as the first event. That's where all 9 of the M1D engines shut down on that first stage, all 9 of those engines that you see lit up on your screen there. And that's in preparation for the next event, which is stage separation. That's where the first and second stage separate. The first stage will flip around and make its way back down to Earth and land on our drone ship named Just Read the Instructions, while the second stage ignites its Merlin MVAC engine to boost Dragon to low Earth orbit during SES-1, or second stage engine start 1. And the last event is the boost back burn to reduce the velocity of the first stage in preparation for atmospheric re-entry. And that whole sequence takes about 30 seconds, and we are coming up on those few events happening here in a few seconds.
And MECO. Stage separation confirmed. Stage 1 boost back startup. Stage 2 ignition.
Some really cool views there. We had MECO, stage separation, the MVAC engine lighting up on your right-hand screen. We also saw the first stage kind of in the view of the second stage view there, falling back to Earth, doing a flip, and now in its boost back burn. And you can see that the landing burn has begun on the first stage. Let's watch as Falcon 9 touches down on Just Read the Instructions.
Landing leg deploy.
Really awesome
Stage 1
views
landing
there. Falcon 9 has touched down. As you can see, it standing tall on just read the instructions there on your screen. Now, while this Falcon 9 just completed its first flight, it marks the 153rd successful
Vector rolling
landing
down.
for an orbital class rocket.
Dragon separation confirmed. Dragon separation
And
confirmed.
as you can see there on your screen and hearing those callouts as well, Dragon is drifting away from Falcon 9's second stage. Incredible view there. The next milestone coming up is the nose cone opening sequence. This protects the docking ring and navigation sensors. And that's going to do it for me here in Hawthorne. So I'm going to send it over to Sandra in Houston. How's it going over there, Sandra?
Hey, thanks, Jesse. Beautiful launch, as always. Great to see that. And, of course, welcome back into the International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Texas.